Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Just making sure that my amazing pompadour is in perfect shape. Welcome to the show. My name is Chris. You're watching the Weekly Spinner Rack. Thank you. I appreciate that. You're helping me out. Hopefully, I help you out with some comic book related entertainment this evening. On the Weekly Spinner Rack, I'm going to eventually talk about some of the comics that came out this week. Come on, Wolverine, Revenge. That was a big one. Jenny Sparks. Hey, what are we doing with the Authority here? Ultimate Spider-Man. There's some Energon Universe and a Ghost Machine stuff that's coming out. There's like Energon Universe. There's Ghost Machine. So there's a lot of really interesting comics to talk about this week. There's a lot of amazing news that I'll cover before we do all of our reviews. There's some fun stuff, some crazy, exciting stuff, but I had an idea that we're going to do first, and that is this. I'm going to draw something short, and if there's time, I'll draw something more detailed later. So we've got a blank page here. I've got my pencil and a brush pen, and let me just give a couple quick shout-outs to all the folks that are jumping in. I appreciate it. So hello, everybody. I will give you the left-handed salute. Everybody loves those. Certainly in the military. Hey, it's my sister. Always glad to see you. Glad to see so many of you. Some great great names, great faces, some new names. This is awesome. We're gonna have fun today, folks. This is so cool. Yeah, we're gonna talk about Ronda Rousey, Beowulf. That went bonkers. There's so much stuff. Oh, I always appreciate that. Thank you, Kyle. Thanks for pointing that out. Hola, Francisco. Appreciate that. Let's see. So, what's one of the bigger things that's been announced in comics? I would say Absolute for DC. The Absolute Batman stuff by Scott Snyder and I'll just use brush pen. Forget the pencil. Artist Nick Dragata. And I think that the first thing everybody noticed about Ultimate Batman was his humongatron bat symbol. Just really, really huge. So bear with me a moment. We're gonna block something out because I'm going to improve this. I know it's typically considered quite rude to say that you can do something better than an artist. And, I have a lot of respect for Scott and Nick Dragata, but I think that they missed something here, folks. There's something big here that can really make this book even better. I'll explain. Let me just block out the bat symbol here. It's a very unique one, very sort of minimalistic as far as the shape. It's like a big square of body armor, right? That usually takes up Batman's whole chest. Here, let's black this out. But they created Absolute Batman. Scott, I really love you. I think that you're a fantastic creator and a super kind human being as well. Scott has actually reached out to me several times when he knows that I've been having just, either mental or physical problems. I think that's very kind considering how busy he is. But they created Absolute Batman. Here's where you missed a step. You needed to go one notch further to Absolute Batman. That's right. Today we are making Absolute Batman. And I'll show you how it's even better. Just let me first get this symbol, because that's the most important part, I think. This is pretty iconic. It's been a while since Batman has had such a big change to his symbol. Looks like in their take, there's an actual reason for it. Looks like it might be like a really good piece of body armor to protect the chest. Hey, that makes sense. But you know what? Superheroes don't necessarily have to make sense. They just have to be cool. And Absolute Batman is about to be the coolest thing you could ever see. So, just give me a moment here to get this important piece done, and we'll see how I'm going to improve this amazing character. Like, this is a big, beefy Batman, like a real strong guy. He's presented as a civil engineer, an engineer who has engineered himself a bat suit. He's not a millionaire. He's just a guy with a big brain that has created, a suit that works for him with like whips and a unique cape. Oh, all right. I'm interested. I'm intrigued. I'm definitely going to be picking this up. I'm curious about the whole Absolute initiative. I hate to say that I could do it better, but I think you're about to see that clearly I can. It's, it's all that comics experience and knowledge. So there's the symbol that takes up, his whole chest in Absolute Batman. Well, here's how you do absolute Batman. He's got his little feet there. Look at that. Tell me this isn't the coolest version of Batman you haven't seen in 20 some years, right? I don't even know the last time Batman looked this good. Look at that. We're going to get his little feet there, and he's got some boots. He's got the little spikes to his some tread to his boots. And maybe he throws up his hands to say, hi. Look at that. So sorry to one-up you in public like this, Scott and Nick and all the amazing creators at DC that are absolutely giving it their all. I didn't want to show you up like this, but, you came up with an idea that obviously just needed one little bit of perfection. And there you go. Absolute Batman. There you go. Absolute. So, yeah, there we go. Don't be surprised if by the end of 2025 you start seeing absolute Batman walking around. He's got a lot to do. He's going to really show criminals who's boss, in my opinion. So, thanks for letting me get that art out of my system. I just, really needed to share. Thank you, folks. Hey, how's it going, Chuck? Brucey O'Wayne from Boston. Brucey O'Wayne from Ireland. Brucey McWayne. But you're saying Boston, huh? Hey, how's it going? I'm out here in Southie. I don't know where I'm going with that. I can't fake my Boston accent. I need to have a drink. I love vodka funded by Batman. Oh, absolute Batman. Yes, that would be nice too. This is a Trash Movie Bonanza t-shirt, and get ready. This Friday, there will be a new episode that Jim and I have created, and then we've got something very special planned for you in September. There's something good coming up. But with all that said, why don't we hop into the news of the week? There's a lot of interesting stuff to talk about. All right, look at me crying there. No, I like Transformers so much. Don't go away. All right, I'll explain that in a little bit. First up, I have some news that literally just happened within the last hour on social media. Okay? Let's see what we got here. Chris Burnham, fantastic artist. Really respect the hell out of Chris Burnham. He posted this just, I guess originally this morning, okay? And he says, an entire pallet of books was dropped off in my driveway today. Looks to be around 1,000 copies of something called Tales from the Quarantine. And I'm not going to curse on air, even though you can read it. He's totally confused. What is this? And then he shows a picture. Look at all of those comics that was sent to him. What? Somebody replies, he goes, it costs foreign suppliers to warehouse goods with Amazon. When something isn't selling, rather than incur the costs of shipping the goods back abroad to provide a local shipping address, looks like you were chosen. Contact Amazon and let them know ASAP. Aha, thank you. And that led to me looking into this. There's a hilarious article on Broken Frontier. A couple other places have covered this too. At the very beginning of the quarantine, there was a Kickstarter for something called Tales from the Quarantine. It blasted past its goals. This was the beginning of 2020. And apparently a lot of the books still haven't shipped. And the person that ran this stopped updating the Kickstarter at the end of 2023. So it's been like 8 months in. And somehow a ton of these books just got shipped to Chris Burnham. As far as I know, he didn't work on it at all. So I don't know how he got selected. But they did produce a bunch of things. I don't know if it's the full book or some sort of promotional aspect of it, but they shipped like 1,000 copies to this poor guy's house. He's like, I don't want this. I have no need for this. He's probably going to have to literally just take it to recycling or something like that. Sorry, Chris. I feel for you. It's also kind of funny because of how ridiculous it is. Somebody like basically, it's like taking a bunch of garbage and just dumping it over the fence into your neighbor's yard. What? I don't understand the full details here or how his address ended up in this. But if you want a funny story, start reading up about all the people that have been sort of burned a bit by the Tales from the Quarantine Kickstarter. They got some big names involved because they said it was all going to be for charity. So they got like Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips, Jim Zub, bunch of people. All right. Just happened. Kind of amused me. Had to share. I now have a ton of MCU news, and I don't typically focus too much on the adaptation side of comics. I love to focus a little bit more strongly on the comics themselves, but there was a lot of MCU bits of news, and I'm going to just share it. I think it's fun to talk about sometimes. Yeah, exactly. He's going to make a trip to Half Price Books. Amazon's like, hey, need paper? I don't know. So I don't know if you saw this character, if you watched season 2 of What If, but this is Kahhori, and she is a Mohawk warrior. She saved the day in season 2 of What If. It was a cool story. I guess I don't want to go too far into just explaining the story, but I actually thought she was a pretty cool character. I guess Marvel Comics agrees because they've decided to move her literally from the show into their comic book universe, bringing her into 616, specifically modern day Hell's Kitchen. So it's going to be written by Kahhori's co-creator and What If writer Ryan Little. That makes sense. And the one-shot comic will also be written by a bunch of indigenous creators. We've got Arahoni Honey David, Kelly Lynn D'Angelo. They're making their Marvel Comics debuts. This cover that you see here, that's by indigenous / also African-American artist Efua Richardson. And yeah, it's a good cover. Could be a cool character to incorporate into the Marvel universe. She basically has she has access to the space infinity gem, so that can be teleportation or speed. Some really cool powers. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, there isn't really Hell's Kitchen in New York anymore. I think it's just called Chelsea now. It's it's been modernized and cleaned up a lot since like the early 80s when Frank Miller was inspired to, put some gritty Daredevil stories there. But I always liked that the Daredevil TV show sort of had an explanation for why it was still rough, saying that like after the Avengers had that humongous battle against the Chitauri, that Hell's Kitchen was kind of like really damaged in that battle. And Kingpin was like sort of taking control of all of the what do you call it, like the contracting for building stuff. It was kind of cool. Haven't gotten to that yet. Don't worry, we'll get there. Will she be from 616 or she'll end up there? Yeah, she'll end up there. she'll end up there. Yes, gentrified is the word that I was actually searching for. Thank you for that, Beowulf. The Beowulf. Yeah, it was kind of funny how they would like refer to stuff from the movies, but like never super detailed. It was weird. All right. Never thought of writing a screenplay, but I do think sometimes about writing a comic book about that. My superhero year could be entertaining. What else have we got for MCU? Oh, this comes out November 6th. Got it. A lot of the stuff we're going to be talking about is stuff for November. There was a bit of a Shang-Chi 2 update. I actually really enjoyed Shang-Chi 2. Not that it's like my top 3 Marvel movies or anything, but I thought it was really well done overall. Likable characters, fun action scenes, cool mythology. I mean, they got Tony Leung as the bad guy, who is one of the more nuanced villains in all of the Marvel movies. I really liked it. So I'm like, where's the sequel? Because it's been 3 years since they made this. Earlier this month, co-star Awkwafina was saying that she hadn't heard any new developments for the movie. Hey, she's pretty busy. She's going to take whatever opportunities there are. I haven't seen that new Netflix movie that she did, Jackpot. Has anybody seen that? It's like her and John Cena. I wonder if it's any good. I don't know. Thank you, Steve. Hope all is well with you. And what is up, troopers? I'm pretty good. I think I have some bad allergies right now, though, since you said, like, hope all is well. I have been so congested, like, the last 3 days or something. My nasal cavity keeps closing up. I've got, like, a sore throat. I don't think it's a cold. I think I'm dealing with allergies. It's really, really frustrating. Like, I've got a headache from it. It's awful. Anyway, I'm surviving. So we've got an update. Well, this past week, Simu Liu, the star of the movie, he reassured fans. He did an interview with the Press Trust of India. I think it was to promote that movie Jackpot that Awkwafina's in. He's got like a small role in it. And he said, a lot of it is above my pay grade, but it's definitely happening. So just very excited to kind of work on it. And it's going to be amazing. I really can't say anything beyond that. Okay. Wait, what's this? You've never seen it? It's pretty darn good, in my opinion. Yeah. Why do you guys in the US say Shang-Chi instead of Shang-Chi? I don't know. I've got a friend that lives in Hong Kong. I guess I could ask him how he thinks it should be pronounced. I never thought about it. Moving on, some more stuff. The Daredevil show is supposed to have a return of another MCU character. Pretty small in his previous role, but I guess it might be bumped up. So this comes from Daniel RPK. Hollywood Insider gets a good amount right, not all of it. So treat this as a rumor. But he said that in Daredevil Born Again, Jack Duquesne, played by Tony Dalton, great actor, by the way. He was so awesome in Better Call Saul. God, he was threatening. Anyway, he says that he's coming back. In the comics, if you don't know, Jack is known as Swordsman. He's been an Avenger. He's got a weird cosmic history with Mantis. None of that really came into play in the MCU. It's a lot of baggage. But he is a superhero. And on the TV show Hawkeye, he was just a guy that was like really good at sword fighting, although he was a businessman. But at the very end, he met a bunch of LARPers into cosplay. So there's a good chance that he may literally dress up as a superhero and come back as that. I would kind of like that because he was kind of a funny, charming character. Other confirmed Marvel characters on Daredevil Born Again, a little bit more anyway than when it was on Netflix. White Tiger, Muse, Punisher, Kingpin, Bullseye. Should be good. Isn't it just pronounced Duquesne? I guess I don't remember them saying it a different way on the show. I bet you anything it's more than one, to be honest. I don't know anything. It's just that I would bet you that they start with Hector Ayala, who was the original White Tiger in the comics, and then he may pass the mantle to Aya or get injured and Aya takes over. We'll see. I don't know. It could be fun, though. I'd be fine with either of them. They're both interesting in their own right, so it's a good character to bring in. It makes sense. Definitely a street level character. When I think of like the street level characters in Marvel, you know, Spider-Man and Daredevil, but then Punisher, Moon Knight, Daredevil, Elektra, White Tiger, maybe Echo. Certainly then you got like Iron Fist, Luke Cage, Misty Knight, Colleen Wing. I love all those sort of street level heroes. I love them. Do I think it should be a movie? I mean, I think we've seen that it can work pretty darn well as a TV show. And Daredevil is a character that actually has like several important aspects to his life. You know, like his lawyering is important. So is his superheroing. And so is his relationships. That's a lot to squeeze into a movie and balance well. Whereas TV show gives you a little more space to find that balance. But would I like to see him in a movie other than just, you know, like a cameo? I would love a Daredevil movie. I would personally really love more of a team up movie. It could just be like Daredevil and Spider-Man. But, you know, if they wanted to go a little bigger and put in like Iron Fist and Luke Cage, I think that would be really cool. Yeah. Yes, Jessica Jones. I liked the overall. I liked all of the Netflix shows more or less. That said, the first season of Jessica Jones was fantastic, and Kristen Ritter did a great job with a fairly nuanced character. Season 2 I didn't like as much, and season 3 I never finished. So I would just love to see a movie, or just to be clear, I would also like a comic where two superheroes, basically of equal footing, not like a hero and a sidekick type thing, but partners, just like, you know, do a buddy cop thing for a movie or have an ongoing series. I've always liked the friendship of Luke Cage and Danny Rand. I've always really enjoyed that. I really like a partnership as compared to a team. Yeah, there was a season 3 for Jessica Jones. Everybody else got Jessica Jones and Daredevil got 3 seasons. Everybody else, including Punisher, got 2. That was a lot, honestly. They made a lot. All right. I think this is the last MCU thing, but I like hearing this. They said that they're going to bring Ultron back. Specifically, the Hollywood Reporter reported on this, so that means it's, you know, that they're not rumors. That's a solid thing. They said that the villain for the upcoming Vision show on Disney Plus will be Ultron, and that is by Terry Matalas, who did an incredible job for Picard season 3. Sincerely, like, you can skip Picard season 1 and 2. Picard season 3 was fantastic TV. Really, really good. James Spader is confirmed to return as the voice of the character, and Paul Bettany still playing Vision, who was a creation of Ultron. So I think that relationship makes a lot of sense. Is Ultron the most powerful Avengers villain other than Thanos? I mean, if you're talking about the comics, there's plenty that would be equal to Thanos. You know, they've gone up against the Shaper of Worlds. They've got, you know, Korvac. They've gone up against you know, the entire like military of the Kree and Skrull armies. But I think Kang in the comics is one of their biggest threats. He comes back like stronger each time. So there's a lot of really strong villains that the Avengers have to work with. Yeah, Beyonder. Let's see. So filming on this is set to begin early next year in England. Just a note, not everybody caught this, but Ultron did already return after Avengers Age of Ultron in the short film Avengers Quantum Encounter. I don't know how many of you saw that, but it was a short film that played on Disney cruise ships. And it featured Ultron attacking the ship, but it was defended by Ant-Man, Wasp, Captain Marvel, Captain America, the Sam Wilson version, and Ms. Marvel. Let's see. It basically, it starts as Scott Lang and Hope Van Dyne just talking about quantum mechanics, and then Ultron comes in to steal some of that quantum technology, and he's got an army. So they have sort of brought him back already. I don't know if that's supposed to necessarily be canon or not. It probably doesn't matter, but they did bring him back. No, they got James Spader to voice the character for that. I don't know if it's canon. I really don't. It should be shared on something like Disney Plus. I mean, they got all the actors. The effects are like only okay. You know, like you could tell that they're doing a short film on a budget in a way, but it was all right. Yeah, they do acknowledge the idea of like how Ant-Man could beat Thanos, like as he takes questions from the audience, and he's like, first of all, gross. I think that could be really cool, to be honest. I like Ultron. I thought the casting of James Spader was somewhat inspired. He did a good job. All right, back to the comics. So, all new Venom. But who is wearing the symbiote? That is the question. That is going to be the question. So, writer Al Ewing, still writing the comic, but he shared that after this Venom War event ends, that's what's going on right now, the symbiote will have a new host, and the book is going to relaunch with more of an earthbound and not a cosmic focus. They've done some cosmic stuff with the symbiotes and time travel, and it's time to move past that, get Venom back to just fighting street level crime. I think he works a little better that way. I think Donny Cates did a good job giving us Null and a little bit of like cosmic horror, but I was kind of done with all the cosmic stuff after that. And I like Al Ewing a lot. He was writing the book with Ram V. They're great writers. I was left a little cold by all the cosmic stuff. Why black and gold? I guess just to represent a new character. Black Widow does have a symbiote now. Yes. So let's talk about who that could be. The suspects. Al Ewing shared that there will be 4 cast members in this book that it could be. And they are some weird choices. Let's see. New host is Comic Tropes Chris. What are the odds? Yep, I'm going to be slinging around my goo. Wait, what did you get me to say? This isn't good. Ha ha, ha ha. How do I get out of here? Sorry about the cough. That's just my allergies, I think. So, Rick Jones could be one. I like that idea. Rick Jones hasn't like factored in a big way in Marvel in a while, but he's a super important character within Marvel. You know, he was Hulk's first sidekick. He was a new Bucky with Captain America. He has just tons and tons of history with Captain Marvel. I would love to see Rick Jones back in an important way. He's a great character. Madame Mask. That's one that I just never would have anticipated. You know, she's a gangster that's mostly got history with Iron Man, but I guess lately in The Amazing Spider-Man, there's been a gang war event, and she's been an important character in that. So she's sort of back to being a gangster, and she's in New York. Okay. Robbie Robertson. Yeah. The editor at the Daily Bugle, Peter Parker's boss. He's older. Like, what a different perspective that would potentially be on a guy that's always been very level-headed, but super down-to-earth, focused on his job. What could bring Robbie in? Well, his son is dating a girl who's currently the Beetle, and her father is Tombstone. So Robbie could, if he had access, he actually does have a big gripe with Tombstone. They've had a lifelong history together. Very strange choice. Maybe. And Luke Cage. And you'd be like, okay, Luke Cage, he's a superhero, right? Well, yes, but he's specifically currently the mayor of New York. A mayor in which he's really not supposed to be doing any superheroing. He's supposed to be a politician first. So that would definitely be, him breaking some rules and hiding some secrets from the public trust. So all of them are pretty weird choices, but could have story potential. I have to admit, I'm probably going to try it. I didn't expect anything like this. No, Luke Cage doesn't need a symbiote, but it would be a way for him to just basically be in disguise and do some superheroing, right? When he otherwise shouldn't. The gold does lean that way, but maybe that's a red herring. Just to be clear, Madame Mask wears a gold mask. If we're talking about stuff like that. Oh, it's Aunt May. Oh, that's frustrating. I forgot to bring some water. Oops. Just should mention that the artist is Carlos Gomez, and that launches in December. Could be fun. I like Al Ewing. He's a good writer. Are you guys ready, or do you need Marvel Comics for Dummies? Those Dummies books that are like plumbing for dummies, fixing your car for dummies, balancing your checkbook for people 30 years ago. Well, the Dummies books are teaming up with Marvel to break down 85 years of comic book history. Specifically, in February, we're going to get 2 books. Marvel Comics for Dummies, this one that you see here, and Captain America for Dummies, obviously a lot more specific. And then future titles in the series will cover Fantastic Four, Avengers, Spider-Man, and the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I can see how business-wise that makes sense, but wow. Chess for Dummies. That actually makes sense. Yeah. I don't think I've ever read a Dummies book. I've seen them for a long time, but I've never picked one up. All of these titles are planned to come out in 2025. I can understand how if you're breaking down, say, Spider-Man or Fantastic Four, you could do that. But I have to admit, Marvel Comics for Dummies seems possibly overly ambitious. There's a lot of key storylines that you'd have to touch, as well as characters. Let's see. Hey, always good to see you. C. Kim Craig K. Craig has always been a great supporter. Thank you, man. I do think that grand design is a way more fun way to present these ideas, but we'll see. I don't know exactly who it's for. It sounds like it's sort of aimed a little bit more at non-comic book readers, because I feel like even if you're new to comics and you like them, you're going to want to read the back issues and the best trade paperback, things. I don't know. I maybe it'll do well, though. Maybe. Was this? Okay, yeah. Still Marvel. They've announced that there's going to be a Battle of Jakku comic, which is actually a pretty big event in Star Wars lore that hasn't been covered yet, so that's a good idea. Written by Alex Segura, Marvel's post-Return of the Jedi era begins in October. They're going to have Star Wars Battle of Jakku, Insurgency Rising, followed by Star Wars Battle of Jakku, Republic Under Siege. So two little series involving this. If you don't know, the Battle of Jakku was what was supposed to represent the final big galactic Civil War battle. And, all the last remaining Imperial remnants versus the New Republic. But we never got to see it. It was only really hinted at in the latest trilogy. So, yeah, it's a good story to tell, I think. There's going to be 3 artists for the comic. Leonard Kirk, Stefano Raphael, and Jethro Morales. And I was actually a little intrigued by this. The popular comics character Dr. Aphra will fit into the story. I like Dr. Aphra a lot. I love having a character in Star Wars that is so morally gray, and she's always on the back foot because of her bad decisions. She's always being hunted down by, people that are more evil than she is. But I like Dr. Aphra a lot. I think that she's funny and interesting. If you don't know, she's basically sort of a what do you call it? Like an archaeologist in the Star Wars universe. So she's always sort of hunting down treasures, which will be like, Jedi artifacts or former Empire's super weapons and stuff. But then she's always getting blackmailed into working for gangsters or the Empire, and they always want to kill her. She's sort of like Indiana Jones, but she's actually a little worse. She's out for herself first, but there's a slow arc to her becoming caring about a few other people than just herself. I like her. I think she's kind of funny and cool. So if you haven't read anything like in the Star Wars world and you like an entry point that sort of mostly does its own thing, I do recommend Dr. Aphra. It's probably my favorite of the Star Wars stuff that Marvel has done. Darth Vader is also a really good book. A new comics publisher. We've been hearing a lot of those throughout the summer, but this one has some pretty big names attached to it. A Scott Pilgrim movie producer, first of all. So, Eric Gitter. If you don't know him, he's been a producer of a bunch of comic book movies. Scott Pilgrim versus the World, Extraction, the Chris Hemsworth movie on Netflix based on the graphic novel Ciudad, and Atomic Blonde. So I think all of those are actually pretty good movies. Pretty good. And so these are some of the people that have been involved, and we've been wondering about two of them in particular. So also joining the publisher are former Boom Studios head Philippe Sablique as the publisher. We've got the former IDW head Jamie S. Rich as the editor-in-chief, and we've got comic book artist Jeremy Hahn as the creative director. So, getting these two guys in particular, we were wondering, are they going to be working together? Why are they both leaving pretty big companies at a similar time? That's an interesting point. It feels random, but neat. Maybe. Yeah, this is what Jamie Rich is up to. No name for the company yet. What they did is they said in this announcement that they've formed it and who's working for them or making it happen. They said that they're not really going to focus on superheroes. Instead, they want to do horror, science fiction, crime, and fantasy. Good. Those are somewhat underserved niches in comics. They've definitely been growing over the last few years. I think that you could definitely point to Boom Studios as doing quite a bit with horror. But I think that that's a good way to go. If you're going to create a publisher, you've got already a bunch of superhero universes. Beyond Marvel and DC, you've got a bunch of stuff through Image. I'm not sure that that's a great idea to try to compete on a superhero level. But if you want to do other things, yeah. Really? You've never heard of either of them, Joe? I actually recommend both. Both of them have great fight choreography. That's one thing they both have in common. Atomic Blonde stars Charlize Theron. It's a Cold War spy story in Germany. There's a really amazing fight scene that looks like it's all a oneer. It takes a long time on a set of stairs. Just really good. And then Extraction also has an extremely long oneer where Chris Hemsworth is chasing a guy, fighting through apartment building, fighting down into moving cars, going through India. It's amazing. I don't think that they're spectacular, but I think that they're good. Yeah, they're totally entertaining. Yeah, I would say Atomic Blonde is a little more seriously minded of the two, but Extraction kind of moves a little faster as an action movie. But that's okay because Atomic Blonde is supposed to be a little bit more of a spy thriller. But when it has fight scenes, they were really good. Charlize Theron is impressive. Theron. Charlize Theron. Got it. I'll note that so that when I meet her, I will totally wow her by pronouncing her name right. And she might just sort of go like, Chris, nice to meet you. Oh, you're married? My loss. I'll say, sorry, Charlize. You know, my wife, she's a 10. You're a 7.5. That's how it is. And both are getting sequels. Hilariously enough, David Leitch, who co-directed John Wick, directed Atomic Blonde. He did a good job. And yeah, Extraction has already had a sequel, and it's getting a third one, I think. It does pretty well. Good actors, you know. Chris Hemsworth, Charlize Theron, they're both really good. And they've both done a bunch of comic book stuff now that I think of it, because Charlize also did The Old Guard. You could argue Aeon Flux is a little bit of a comic book movie. I mean, it's a cartoon, but still. Oh, the goal for them is to say that, because they don't have anything specific they've announced, but they said the goal is to have these books out in 2025. So 2025 could be shaping up to be interesting with a lot of new stuff. I hope it's good. I want to give a quick shout out to a David Dastmalchian comic. He does Count Crowley. We talked recently about another horror book he's developing, but he's been pretty animatedly talking about Knights versus Samurai for a while, and it's about to launch. That's right. Charlize did have a small role in Doctor Strange. Could be much bigger if they do another. Yeah, that's true. I got to keep moving. I got news to get through. So, David Dastmalchian, actor who's played at least 5 or 6 comic book characters in TV and film. He's got a new comic launching in September. That comes out through Todd McFarlane's imprint. And it's called Knights versus Samurai. What is it? It's going to follow a guy named Sir Charles Ward, a new knight, leading a group of royal guards on a mission to a mysterious island in the Far East that's full of demons, and they'll encounter a faction of samurai. Some of what the book is about, David talked to Screen Rant in an interview, and this was his quote. You've got broadswords and katana clashing in this fantastical world that I've always been dreaming of, where there are dragons and oni and witches and ogres and all kinds of mythological creatures from both English and Japanese stories. I'm glad there's something to it more than just, let's have some knights and samurai fight. It sounds like he's going to really play with a lot of supernatural ideas. Could be fun. Unrelated, but sort of related, it's because it's about David. He was announced as playing Mr. 3 in season 2 of the Netflix live-action One Piece adaptation. So yes, for those counting, that's yet another comic book property he will be acting in. So let's see. I think I've tried to add this up before. He was in Gotham. He was in Dark Knight. He was in, he'll be in One Piece. He was Polka Dot Man in Suicide Squad. He was in the Ant-Man movies. What else am I forgetting? There's something like big that he did for a comic book movie. What am I thinking? Because that's 5 right there. Oh, did he do a voice in Batman The Long Halloween? Okay, so that's another. There's another, though, that I'm not thinking of right now off the top of my head. Oh, he was in The Flash as Abracadabra. So that's at least 7 different roles, a bunch of DC stuff. He also voiced Calendar Man. Okay. Dune isn't a comic book. Look at you guys trying to wedge in Dune. Dune was a book. How dare you? How dare you try to bring books and literature into this comic book show? How dare you? The show's ruined. Good night. All right. Moving forward. I guess there's movement on a movie version of Crossed. If you haven't seen, Crossed is a super violent post-apocalyptic comic. It doesn't truly have zombies. It more just has crazy people. But functionally, it's a little bit like a zombie story. In the same way that, what was that one movie called? Like 21 Days Later or something? Something like that. All right, so what is this? Garth Ennis announced back on August 16th that he's writing a screenplay to adapt Crossed. That was the comic that he co-created with artist Jason Burrows. A bunch of other people actually worked on it. I think it's the biggest thing Avatar publishes. Bleeding Cool tracked that back issues for this comic went up, according to them, once this news came out, which makes sense. Here are some of the ones they noted. Not all of them. You can go to Bleeding Cool for more on this. They said a Cross #1 that was graded CGC 9.8 sold for $69. Okay. Crossed Plus 100 #1 collector's set signed by Alan Moore hit $200. That makes sense since Alan Moore isn't going to be doing, any more comic book stuff. The original Raw Cross #0, not slabbed or anything, sold for $60. And then a signed 4,000 limited cover run CGC 9.2 slabbed copy went for $250. And then finally, I pulled up this one. An unsigned standard cover CGC 9.4 slabbed Cross #0 sold for $300, and a slab 9.8 Cross #1 sold for $225. So yeah, of course the slab stuff's going to go for a bit more, easier to speculate on, but yeah, so that's going for more. But I bet you anything, you could probably get these raw for really good prices at your local comic shop if you were interested. Like, as compared to speculating, it would probably save you so much money. I'm sure you could still get like the raw back issues for good prices these days, and then if you want to, you can still slab them, get them graded is what I mean. But I bet you anything, you could still get a lot of these for really low prices. I haven't actually read this one, but I know my wife actually picked up a trade paperback of Crossed at one point. We were on a visit to New York. This is going back quite a while, and she just thought it looked cool, so she picked it up, but I don't know where it is right now off the top of my head. That's interesting. A Taiwanese horror film called The Sadness is loosely based off of Crossed. Hadn't heard about that. Makes me curious to check it out. Yeah, you could make a movie like this pretty cheap, honestly. It would just be finding the right place to film it. Oh, it's on Shudder. Great. I've got a friend that lets me log into his account. All right, let's talk about what I had in the thumbnail. This makes me a little sad, but I'll try to put it in context. I get it. So, Daniel Warren Johnson held an AMA, Ask Me Anything, on Reddit this week. It was to promote his upcoming book that I do think looks really interesting, The Moon is Following Us. While there, he did get asked about Transformers, and he answered very openly and honestly. There's just an upcoming cover. So, this was the relevant part. Question for Daniel: how long do you plan to write Transformers? It's been so amazing. Down here, he answers: thanks much to you both. I'm having a blast writing it now, and Jorge and Mike are absolutely slaying the art. I am going to be writing for a total of 24 issues. Thanks again. Issue 12 is the most recent one, I think, that came out, so we've got basically one more year of Daniel working on Transformers. And if you haven't read it, again, I recommend it. I think it's so good. It did win Daniel 2 Eisners just this past month. He follows up because people are like, "Are you sure you can't stretch it? You know, it's a really good run." And they're right. It's special. He says, "Honestly, I'm having so much fun. I would love to. But when I make anything, writing, drawing, or both, I only know how to go 110%. So, all that to say, I'm killing myself and can only go for so long. My choice to leave at 24 is more of a choice for my mental health and for my family than however I may feel about my wonderful Cybertronians. Thank you for your support." When he puts it like that, I get it. And 2 years is a super good amount of time to tell a bunch of stories. You know, that should be at least 4 arcs, I would guess, if they're telling it roughly in 6-issue bursts. And who knows? You know, it sells incredibly well. I wouldn't rule out him potentially coming back. I don't know who I'd want to take over, though, because he really does have a unique take on it that, you know, mixes in the stuff I loved most about the 80s version with a lot more character work than you would typically expect out of a licensed property of any kind. It looks great. It moves at a great pace. It has twists, and it just has a real humanity to it that I really find more engaging than just a comic. But we've got another year. We've got at least another year. You know, I do get also, as an artist, you want to keep trying new things. You want to evolve, and you want to like stay interested. You know, if he was drawing it as well, that would definitely be intense. That would be asking a lot out of somebody. It really would be these days, especially the way he draws, which is pretty damn impressive. You know, the double splash pages with tons of detail. There's a lot going on there. 24 issues is a lot for a Daniel Warren Johnson comic, so I'm super happy with what we will get. I'm happy too. You know, I wouldn't be surprised, Mortaka, if Daniel at least has sort of a bit of closure for maybe a couple of the important characters that he's developed. You know, he'll leave it open so that this can continue. Of course he will. But I'm sure that, like, he'll also have a measure of closure. He's pretty smart about plotting out what kind of a story he wants to tell with an end goal in mind. Yep. A lot of people saying, hey, it's a good run. He really does do a lot of detail. Going out on his own terms. You know, I don't think anybody would have expected it to be as good as it turned out to be, even if you really loved and respected Daniel Warren Johnson. I think he really has imbued a lot of care and effort into telling a really great story about, you know, how horrible war is in a lot of ways. You know, Optimus Prime definitely does not want to fight, but he does because he knows he's capable of potentially ending things, and that's like, you know, so it's tough though. You know, there's a lot of really good elements of the book. Oh, you tried it somewhat recently. I'm glad you tried it. You know, it's good. You know, I could see that a little bit. I could see that Robert might feel that he could do the best. You know, he knows this whole thing, having, you know, managed it and doing Void Rivals. And a lot of people certainly love what Robert does. He does do unexpected things, subverting expectations on books like Invincible. He could be good. He could be good. I guess I don't have anything more to say, but I just wanted to share that Daniel put it out there this week. You know, no wishy-washy like, oh, I might do it for another year. You know, he just flat out told us what it's going to be. So as we get closer, I'm sure to keep the hype level up, they'll announce who's taking over. And I think that they'd be smart, and they being like Skybound and Robert, I think that they'll, like, you know, hire some name creators onto it, no matter what. I just think Rick would do incredible if he wanted to, but Rick wants to do his own stuff. I'm positive of that. Never say never. I'm not Rick, but I think he wants to do his own stuff. He's got a giant generator. He's managing his own people, like, bringing their ideas up. He's doing a lot. Chris, chat, who is your dream team for Transformers? Well, Optimus. I love Optimus. Who else do I really, really enjoy as a character? I'm trying to think about Grimlock. I really do like Grimlock. So we'll put him on there. Plus, he's a little bit adversarial. I'll put on Blaster. I think Blaster's pretty cool. And then you got to have like a small guy. And I think I'll have to go with Bumblebee. Yeah, that's who I do. I think you're right, EJ. Transformers did very well with IDW, in my opinion. It really did. But I think that they're doing something now that has expanded interest to people that haven't read it before. They're like hearing good things about it. Tom Scioli definitely has crazy ideas. Yes, that would be fun. That would be very, very fun. Wait, I meant artist writer for the Skybound comic. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were just saying list my favorite 4 members for a team. Okay. So if I could just sort of hire anybody alive right now and they could take over Transformers, that's a challenging question. You know what? Again, he's probably too busy doing his own stuff, but I think Kyle Higgins can write teams. He can write properties from the past. I mean, that guy really made Power Rangers into something bigger. Kyle Higgins. He's got great, well-developed characters in all of it. Yeah, I'll say Kyle Higgins as a writer. Let's think outside the box for an artist. We'll say, do I have an unlimited budget here? We'll hire some sort of mangaka. We'll hire who's wrapped something up recently. Let's get Kohei Horikoshi to draw. Sean Gordon Murphy. I like that idea. We'll add him in there. And then we'll add Tom Scioli, like people are saying, because Scioli did some really crazy cool stuff. But I honestly think it would be a good idea, if you could, to get some sort of known mangaka to work on Transformers. I think that would go over pretty damn well. I think that would go really, really well. Oh, yeah. Sorry, who just... Adam suggested Kelly Thompson. Kelly has been writing a lot of great stuff lately. I like that idea. Tilly's great. James Roberts and Ryan Odley. Ryan did a great variant cover for Transformers #1 of that Starscream punt, getting just obliterated. That thing was awesome. I would love EJ on a Transformers book any day of the week. But EJ is very busy, so we may as well give him a plug. EJ is drawing the Pacific Rim. How about the Pacific Rim book? That's a Kickstarter. I'm going to pull that up because this is an official 3rd story following the first 2 movies from Legendary, written by Joshua Hale Fialkov, who's done some great stuff. I'm going to just try to pull up the page for it real quick. Kickstarter. And this is a big one, folks. Final Breach, it's called. It's got 8 days to go on Kickstarter. And let's see. So we're going to add a different window here. I just have to switch some things. Look at that. 148,000. So you could buy in right now. It's going to be 3 volumes over 3 years. huge volumes. So EJ is very, very busy. It involves the protagonists from the two movies. They're going to take the fight to the aliens. Look at the detail on that, or this. So I think that would be good. Trad Moore. What an outside the box idea that would be. Yep, you're right. Sorry, let's end it here. Enough talking about Transformers. It's time to talk about Transmorphers. And now that you say that, damn you, Chuck, because all of a sudden you make me realize that some of those horrible movies should probably be stuff that Jim and I cover on Trash Movie Bonanza. Those knockoff movies back when there was still Blockbuster, and they would just do cheapy knockoffs that would come out right when the trailer for a bigger movie came out. Oh my goodness. Asylum. That's what, yeah. Darn. Jim and I may have to watch some Asylum movies. We may just have to. Oh, he's dabbing. He's dabbing to because he knows what he did. Oh yeah, you saw that? I saw the TV Glow. That one had me thinking for a while. Oh, that's a good movie if you hadn't seen it. It's not for everybody, I guess, but I liked it. I liked it a lot. All right, let me go back to the news. Mad Cave Studios has been talking about launching various imprints. They've got like one called Paper Cuts. Well, they've got another one that they're launching, Nakama Press. I don't know if Nakama would mean anything or if it's just sort of a word. So yeah, they're launching Nakama Press as an imprint specifically to publish manga. Maybe that seemed obvious just from the image. Let's see. They noted that it's going to include both original manga that they will create and licensed books from Japan, although they've only announced one so far. Nakama means comrade? Okay. Huh. Does it? Or it means... Does it? Huh. You guys... Okay, I've got several people that know Japanese better than I do. Thank you, folks. I get the idea now. They did announce, or they've already announced, but this will be under Nakama Press. They're partnering with Tatsunoko Production on a series of Gatchaman comics. But I have to admit, guys, Gatchaman's always been a blind spot for me. I know what it looks like, but I don't know Battle of the Planets. I don't know Gatchaman. So I don't really know what it is. I just haven't seen it. It's Nakama. It means like teammate. One Piece had it? Okay. It means close acquaintance. I think I get it. Yeah. I saw the TV Glow definitely is about trans stuff, but it was done in a really, I thought, super respectful and deep way. It was badass. I liked it. So that's something coming out probably throughout 2025. Nakama Press. Here's a interesting Grindhouse romance comic. Is that a good description? We'll see. I think so. So DSTLRY has announced another book. They call it like a kinetic romance comic. James Tynion IV and Elsa Charretier? I don't know. I'm terrible at names. I'm terrible about pronunciation. Interesting team, though. Interesting team. Here's how DSTLRY describes this comic. Here's like the sort of double spread cover. Whoop. The City Beneath Her Feet is a blood-splattered love letter to New York City. The street-level blockbuster revolves around a writer named Zara, who is thrust back into the orbit of Jasper Jane, the mysterious and distant love of her life, the inspiration and muse for her writing. And in the years that followed their meeting, after Zara learns she was left as Jasper's emergency contact, Zara quickly discovers the reason for Jasper's mysterious life. She was one of the most dangerous assassins in the world, and now the people who came for her are pursuing Zara, suspecting she has intimate knowledge of their forbidden secrets. Pursued by Jasper's lethal fellow assassins, Zara must navigate a labyrinth of double crosses, insidious secrets, and gloriously orchestrated fight ballets to unravel the mystery of Jasper's life. I would definitely like to see how Elsa illustrates something like that. I'm curious. You guys are all still hung up talking about Gatchaman stuff, but I don't know what that is, so yeah. Let's see. When do we get the Tynion biographic comic that shows he's able to put out so many comics because he's like the character in Basket Case? He is prolific. That is definitely for sure. Chartier. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. I know that there was a Pacific Rim show on Netflix. It was sort of set more in the future, though, and kind of the ideas were there from Pacific Rim, but it was separate. Yeah, those two kids get like the brother sister get the what do they call them in that? Jaeger. Yeah, that was good. I don't think he has ghostwriters because I've read a bunch of different Tynion stuff, and I really feel like there is a voice there. I really do. No, I don't think that. Maybe that was a joke, but I really, yeah, he's prolific, is all. He's prolific, and I'm curious about this one. I like that it's described as sort of an action comic, and like that New York is going to be an important location for it. I like New York. Oh my God, did Ronda Rousey have a rough week? But that is okay with me. She brought it on herself. This is her comic. That's coming out. And look, the main character looks like her. What a surprise. So, today happens to be the final day for the crowd-funded campaign. It's on Kickstarter for Ronda's comic book called Expecting the Unexpected. She's been an MMA fighter. She's been a pro wrestler. She's been an actress. Now she's somehow tackling comics. Art by Mike Deodato Jr., by the way. Pretty big name. Oh my God, did she get roasted here though, folks? She got roasted. She decided to hold an AMA on Reddit to promote the book, just like Daniel Warren Johnson did. Daniel Warren Johnson's AMA went very well. People were engaged, curious, excited about his upcoming project. It was instantly overwhelmed. The only questions asked, the only questions that I saw, I scrolled through it. I didn't see a single question not related to this. They were all talking about how Ronda Rousey was initially a denier of the Sandy Hook shootings, which is pretty shitty. That's pretty shitty behavior. Alex Jones lost basically all his money doing that. And, Ronda, anyway, yeah. Literally every question was like set up as though it was asking something else, and then it would pivot, like saying like, hey, is it true that you left the WWE because they wanted you to play a pirate character named Sandy Hook? Things like that, right? Every question related to it. Everything. She didn't answer any of them. She had to just bail. She just bailed. So it was as bad as could be for her. But hey, you kind of brought that on yourself, didn't you? And you know what? She needn't really have even done that. Like the book is funded. It's successfully funded. She's got a big enough name. Mike Deodato Jr. is a great artist. For what it's worth, following that abysmal AMA, she did follow up with a pretty long post on Twitter apologizing, saying that her behavior was just flat out wrong, that she should never have questioned it, that she was not smart in the way that she approached things. it seemed like a decently heartfelt apology, I suppose. But, you know, it should have come a long time ago. It's been 11 years. It's been 11 years. So you sort of like, well, are you saying it now because you really mean it? Or are you saying it now because it's, a pretty bad look? You know what I mean? You had a lot of time to just sort of like, for no reason, just sort of say, you know what? I did something really stupid back in the day. So, yes, agreed. Right. Yes, she voiced Sonya in a Mortal Kombat. She was a denier in 2015. It's been a good decade since she had even brought it up, but she did. I thought it was a good apology and better late than never. And I think that that's fair, which is why I, added that comment. I'm like, let's give it full context. I'm not just going to be roasting her without trying to give her the benefit of the doubt here. Maybe like I said, I thought that the apology felt heartfelt, but the timing of it was terrible. She should have done it a long time ago is all. It's pretty awful. She caused a lot of pain to a lot of people. Like a lot of people were really hurt over that terrible event. Oh yeah, he is. That's it. She is not Gina Carano. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. Well, I understand what you're saying there, Joe. And at the same time, everybody's got a vote. Everybody's got an opinion. And I've never really appreciated when like people tell like an actor, hey, shut up and just act. I'm like, you know what? Nobody is your personal servant. It's up to everybody to like how much they want to share about their views. But if they decide that they want to use their platform to get political, I don't blame anybody for doing that. Like, whether they're a writer or an actor or, a host of a reality show, I'm like, they still have the same amount of a vote that everybody does here. But yeah, ultimately, who knows? Her comic's going to get funded. She apologized. We'll see if there's any more fallout. But in the meantime, like that was a rough Reddit. If you want to go and look, there's just, I don't know, maybe like 100 questions, and they're all about just one thing. So people came in prepared, or they saw what was being asked and they just decided to follow up. I didn't see a single question that was like, where'd the idea come from? Power Rangers is getting rebooted. Tonal shift, complete tonal shift. Look at this really cool cover by Dan Mora. Boy, Power Rangers was lucky to have Dan Mora. Oh yeah, it's still up. Yeah, Power Rangers has had a lot of talent. I haven't really read it because I've seen some Power Rangers. I wouldn't say I'm really much of an expert. I've never, but Kyle Higgins and Ryan Parrott and Melissa Flores, a lot of really good writers on Power Rangers over the years. They had Dan Mora, some great artists. So Boom has been publishing Power Rangers comics for over 8 years. And just to be clear, the comics are not an adaptation of the show, and they don't sort of like update with like, hey, it's a completely new cast. It has been the original characters of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And I remember Kyle Higgins, when he started the book, said he wasn't writing it to sort of be accurate to the way the show was, but the way it made him feel. So it was very cool in a lot of ways. I've at least seen that cool promo commercial he filmed with Jason David Frank as Lord Draken, like an alternate universe evil white Power Ranger. So cool. Anyway, they've done over 100 issues, and they're going to reboot it. Power Rangers Prime. It's going to be written by the current Power Rangers writer, Melissa Flores, illustrated by Iron Fist's Michael Yeeg. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, or just Ing. And it's going to be a fresh start. They're basically doing sort of a cosmic reboot of some sort, following whatever the current event is. And the Viewpoint character on the show is going to be different. It's going to be a character named Lauren Shiba from Power Rangers Super Samurai. So that's the starting point for this. And we don't know where it's going from here. But all the PR from it and interviews wanted to make it clear that this is a jumping on point for people that like Power Rangers, but also if you don't know it and you're curious what this is, you could start reading the comic here. It's not going to like be dwelling on any mythology from TV or movies or other comics. Looks like fun. I'm a fan of Melissa's writing, so I think it's cool she gets to continue writing Power Rangers, albeit in an Ultimate Universe type of way. I think that's fair. Yeah, they don't have like much in terms of plans for, you're right, like a TV show or anything. I'm not sure what they're doing for toys really, but yeah, at least the comic is going to stay around. I think that there's definitely a solid audience for it. It's been going for quite a while. They've been building up that character throughout the Boom run, a character who was barely on the show. Good for them for taking something and building on it. Let's wrap this up so I can get to the reviews. This cracked me up, folks. Atlas Comics. Atlas Comics, and I am not talking about the brief name that Marvel went by, because Marvel went by Timely, they briefly went by Atlas, and then they went by Marvel. I'm not talking about the Atlas comics from the 50s. I'm talking, I've made an episode about this on Comic Tropes. It was a publisher that only lasted 2 years. It was started by a guy named Martin Goodman, who was the original owner of Marvel Comics. He sold it in like something like 1968, stayed working with them as an executive for like another 4 years. And then he decided to start his own publishing company. And I personally suspect it was mostly to give his son like a big title in the comics industry and hopefully like let his son Chip, sort of guide that ship. But Atlas did not last. It had a lot of talented people, but not a very clear direction. So this week, Paramount, pretty big studio, announced they plan to adapt Devilina into a movie. I want to be clear. Devilina had all of 2 issues published. It was a black and white, sort of more adult magazine. Adult as in like they could get away with more violence, nudity if they wanted to. All the publishers did it back then so that they could bypass the comics code. You could put it out as a black and white magazine instead. So yeah, not a lot of mythology here to draw on, but it's a superhero. Devilina followed, whatever you want to say, a sheltered young woman who journeys to New York in search of her past, only to discover she's the sister of Satan, and her twin brother has been manipulating her while a detective investigates a series of murders linked to her. Red Sonja, I think that there was probably a little of Vampirella in there too. Oh, I'm sure that they're much cheaper. Yeah. There might be more than 5, but not a lot more. Not a lot more. It was kind of funny to see this like show up on sites like Deadline and stuff going like, Paramount is adapting a movie. And I was like, adapting a movie. That makes sense. Paramount is adapting a superhero into a new movie. I don't know what the mythology was anymore. Yeah, if we could jump forward like 10 years, maybe that's something we'll review. 2 issues. The script is by Rebecca Webb, who I guess was a writer on the TV show Blacklist. Never saw it. Were there any other movies with Atlas characters? Not yet, but somebody bought the rights to all of the Atlas characters. I remember this was like news somewhere on this channel like many, many months ago when they were like, there are hundreds of amazing characters that we can turn into movies. I was like, yeah, there's hundreds of characters that like got at most 3 issues. Crazy. Dynamite has a bunch of comics coming out in November. I thought I'd give a shout out to them. They all seem kind of fun. Yeah. They're going to be publishing a new DuckTales comic. I said cartoon. I meant comic. Specifically based on the 1980s cartoon version. That's the continuity that it'll be set in. And hey, that's probably the best known version of DuckTales, but what I wanted to make clear is that that's what it's being based on as compared to, say, the original Disney comics. No, it's being based on the cartoon, but that's what people like. David Pepose and Jonathan Lau are launching the second arc of Space Ghost. I know that's been doing well. I bump into lots of people that read Space Ghost. I don't know Space Ghost very well, but I know that that's doing well. Second arc will be visiting the planet of the beasts. And the first arc is also going to release that month in trade paperback. It's been good. Okay. So, wow, it rules. Got it. They've been doing a lot of great covers. I agree. I do notice those. And then the other one I wanted to note was this crossover with Pulp Heroes. Green Hornet is crossing over with the Pulp Hero Miss Fury. And that comes by writers Alex Segura and Henry Barajas with artist Federico Ceresa. They all seem like they could be fun in actually quite different ways. No, I haven't read that. I haven't. I'm not overly familiar with David's writing. I read like the first 2 issues of his Punisher run. It wasn't really for me, but yeah. What's this? You wish Mr. Al Martina wasn't doing the main covers. Oh, wait, is that the guy that was doing like the AI covers? Is that what's going on there? That feels familiar. Huh. I heard really good things about the Savage Avengers run by David. I heard really good things. I don't think so. I don't know. I don't know who you might be thinking of, but I can't think of a Marvel character like that. Let's see. It's weird that Marvel isn't publishing the Disney comics and DC isn't publishing the Hanna-Barbera comics. Yeah, it is kind of weird sometimes. Lots of long-term negotiations, I think. Nick Barucci's talked to me before, and I don't want to say anything that's his story or anything, but I do know that like these were things that like he was lining up for a long time, talking to the like places like Hanna-Barbera and Disney and that, and saying like, here's what we could do, here are the people that could be involved, and I think it was like a long process, just like convincing them that they were the right place to make this happen. Let's see, we're almost done with news. I wanted to point out that there's some more DC Finest announced. That's the brand name for DC's new like massive paperback collections, not just like 6 issue, but like big thick things from all throughout their past. They're all around 600 pages, $40, pretty good value. They are in full color. It's paperback. Some of the new titles announced, there were too many for me to cover them all, but some of the new titles for 2025 include, look at this, the Gorilla World. So they're going to just gather together a ton of their different gorilla stories. I'm in for that. Justice Society of America, The Plunder of the Psycho Pirate, a Metamorpho book. I mean, as somebody that loves Ramona Fradon, I can't wait to read this. This is probably her most famous co-creation. There's a Superman run by Denny O'Neil and Kurt Swan. The Killing Joke. That's a pretty classic Batman one to include. Doom Patrol by Drake and Haney and Premiani. Great crew. Really weird comic. Teen Titans, The Judas Contract. That's Wolfman and Perez at their height. Deathstroke does some questionable things questionable. Like, I mean, he flat out comes across as like, how do you even say this on stream and not get demonetized? Deathstroke seems to have relations with a teenager who is not of age. It's terrible. It's a bad idea. It's a bad idea. Yeah. J.M. DeMatteis is Dr. Fate. Dude, Metamorpho, Doom Patrol, they're so cool. Oh, I didn't hear about that one. The Jack Cole Plastic Man stuff? That's really good. I bet you anything, Black Phoenix, that they do get to that. The Gorilla one, Gorilla Stories, the Titans. It's a good run. It really is. Deathstroke is a PDF file. Yes, that's a good way to say it. Thank you. Or he pulled in R. Kelly. Thank you, folks. And that was like right at the beginning. So I think we sort of like, it quickly got sort of ignored. And now, fortunately, we can say, hey, it's a new continuity, right? So we don't have to say that happened. But not a good idea. Not a good idea. But there were so many fun things. And I just am really super amused at this one, the Gorilla World. That's really funny. Way to go, DC. Good idea. Good idea. Last thing I'll point out is this weird DC promotion that did seem fun. You can get a Justice League of America membership card. You have to buy stuff to get it, just to be clear. So readers who buy any 4 DC comics each week during the promo period can get a Justice League membership card, and that mirrors a design that came from the Mark Waid and Dan Mora issue of Justice League Unlimited. Here's what you could get. October week 1, if you get 4 DC comics, you can get a Batman Justice League membership card. October week 2 is Superman. Week 3 is Wonder Woman. Week 4 is like a blank one where you could fill in your own name. What fun. And November week 1 is this Dark Side Infected membership card that glows in the dark. So that's pretty fun. Why not a ring? I don't know if I buy 4 DC comics in a week is all. Like, I think like usually like it might only be 2. I kind of like that Dark Side one. So if in November week 1 I can see 4 DC comics that I like, who knows? Maybe I'll get that. That could be fun. Could be. Who knows? Maybe it's not fun at all. Let's get back to second camera here, and we'll review some comics that came out this week. It was a fun week. It was a decent week. I don't think I need to talk about everything I picked up this week. Some of it's going to be stuff that like you're sort of into or you're not at this point. But let's talk about issue 1 of a new series called Wolverine Revenge. And just so that you guys can brace yourselves, this is the Red Band edition. So there might be some violence in here. Let me zoom in a little. That's a little better. All right. So what is this? This is Greg Capullo's grand return to Marvel Comics. He hasn't worked there since the early 90s. He took over from Liefeld on X-Force. He did Quasar with Mark Grunwald. And then he did a bunch of stuff like Spawn, Batman. Maybe you've heard of that stuff. Maybe. So here he's teaming up with writer Jonathan Hickman to tell a Wolverine story. And this is some of the most detailed work I've seen from Greg Capullo in a while. It's really pretty. It's great. It is violent. Hi, cat. What, did you want to show up? I don't know if my cat's showing up or not. Maybe. This is not Hey. Wants to play. Bring a toy. Bring a toy if you want to play. Sorry. Yeah. Sort of. This is fun though. This is a really fun book because here's what they do. It's not told in regular continuity. Okay. It's outside of that. In fact, something big happens off screen that we don't know. We're back to like old-fashioned Nick Fury, not Nick Fury Jr. And Nick Fury and Shield comes to Wolverine and is like, bad news. Magneto got taken out, and that made an EMP blast go off, and almost all of the technology in the world has shut down because it was such a big magnetic pulse. So we need to break into the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants fortress and steal like a gizmo that can turn electricity and stuff back on to save the world. Otherwise, millions, if not billions, of people might die with no energy and running water and things like that. So they're coming up with a plan. You've got like Captain America and Bucky are big characters in this. We've got Clay Quartermain, Dum Dum Dugan, Maria Hill. But this book, because it's not in continuity, like there's 3 helicarriers and they're all getting annihilated. So lots of important characters are getting taken out through this book. But it's just kind of fun too to see like, Wolverine, Captain America, and Bucky going on a mission to battle the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Look at this. Because it's not in continuity, Deadpool, totally willing to work as a mercenary for them. Sabretooth, Omega Red. These are some big name villains. It's fun because the bad guys can be really bad. They do some terrible stuff. And Wolverine is angry by the end of this. I'm not going to tell you everything that happens in it. Like, I don't think you need to be spoiled that way. But it's fun. It's fun. A revenge story is fun. And a lot of times it's kind of hard to do a revenge story within superhero continuity because who are you going to take out that really motivates the character to be that angry, right? Like, what can you do on that scale to properly motivate a revenge story? You have to like introduce some new characters that you plan on killing off down the road. Like, you couldn't do a revenge story with like, Spider-Man, not really by like, I don't know, all of a sudden Sandman comes in and kills Aunt May and Mary Jane and Harry Osborn and stuff, like that would be fun in its own way, but it's a what if story. So this is sort of a what if story, but it's going to be, a bigger story. And so this is all about sort of setting up the premise, setting up the enemies, and setting up a very angry Wolverine. But the reason to get it isn't necessarily the story. The story's fun. The reason to get it, probably, and I say this with all due respect to Jonathan Hickman, but it's to see Greg Capullo having fun in the Marvel Universe again. And he really is a great storyteller. The panel-to-panel storytelling is great. When he decides to show some character expressions, they're plausible and believable and just cool. And there's a lot of detail. It's not easy to draw helicarriers in perspective necessarily. That's not like doing a little thing like this that has very little line work, right? You have to really map that out to get like the right perspective and the right like, curvature. This is very, very precise. Look, when I say fun, I'm talking grindhouse pulp, it's B movie schlock on a level, but I don't know. I can find that very fun. If it sounds too dark for you, then I'm happy to share that with you in this review. It is it is dark on a certain level because a lot of characters are said to have been killed off, and I won't say which ones, but like a lot of characters get killed off. So, I don't want to give away too much more, but I thought it was fun. I did, and I'm looking forward to next issue, no question. I'll move on. Jenny Sparks. I really liked Jenny Sparks within the context of the Authority. I think who are the 2 people that did the Authority for writing? Mark Miller, and who was the other one? Because I kind of preferred that. Oh, it was Warren Ellis, wasn't it? Yeah, it was Warren Ellis. Anyway, Jenny Sparks is this unique character that embodies the spirit of a century, and she has some electric powers. It's a little vague. She's a little bit like, say, Constantine, right? She's like a British smoker who's, got no time for bullshit. She's very focused in her own way. She doesn't want to waste time. And nothing really phases her because she's very old and has a lot of experience. And this is also, just to be clear, this is also not explicitly in the main continuity because, at least I don't think so. I guess it could be, but I don't think so. Yes, she was. She was the spirit of the last century, born in 1900, went through 2000. What does that mean now? Those books were made like right at the cusp of, like, that was made. Those comics were made starting around 98 or 99. I think 99. What would she be right now? Well, she's still alive and she seems to still have some powers, but some strange stuff happens with Jenny, and she's recruited to do a specific thing. She's supposed to keep superheroes in line. Okay. And so Batman comes and says, look, Captain Atom is acting really weird. And Captain Atom is, Superman level power, like God level power. You need to investigate this and take care of it. It shouldn't be Justice League business. This is your prerogative. And she's like, yep, got it. You can piss off now because I know what to do. Meanwhile, there's all sorts of weird subplots of Captain Atom doing strange stuff, including killing people. That's strange. There's also some weird subplots with a bunch of supporting characters. A judge, a therapist, a substitute teacher in college, a movie producer. Why are we getting all these little subplots with them peppered throughout the book? It makes sense by the end, is all I can say. It's a mystery. It's definitely a mystery, not just in terms of Jenny searching what's going on with, say, Captain Atom in this particular issue, but also, what exactly is Jenny Sparks now that we're into a new century? Well, that's an interesting question. And I'm not super familiar with Jeff Spokes as an artist, but he's good. It reminds me a little of the detailed but organic work of people like Adam Hughes, Brian Hitch, Alan Davis. Do you know what I mean by that? As compared to like really sharp angles with detail, like a Sean Gordon Murphy, or maybe to a degree a Daniel Warren Johnson. There's like a realism, but there's like an organic and a roundness to the way he approaches the character work. And I think that there's some very specific choices going on here with the panel structure for storytelling. Okay. A lot of times when Jenny is working this case, we get these very skewed lengthwise panels. There's two things going on here that I want to speak to. One, a lot of the authority work that Jenny Sparks originally appeared in was drawn by Brian Hitch, and it would have what he termed widescreen panels, as in it was like big cinematic action beats. So we've still got a lot of those panels, but instead of like being sort of epic and stuff, like we're doing something very personal and one-on-one. And I think that they might sort of be skewed at this angle because Jenny's a little out of her element on this. Or she's, yeah. Okay, my sister, I guess I'm losing her. I see a little bit of Travis Charest. Yeah, I see a little, fluidity. I like that. This is somebody that seems to be able to draw everything. The panel layouts were gorgeous. Slices everywhere. Yeah, it's like these slices of moments, but they're also sort of just a little off. You know, they're not left and right. And there's actually, even though it's like this, you know, the characters aren't really breaking the panel boundaries. They almost look like they should be, but they don't. And then when we cut to these sort of like subplots, they went from like earlier small panels to now they're getting like bigger, and as we get closer to like what it means to the story. But you see how like the panels go sort of skewed when stuff is happening with Jenny? It's like the world isn't quite right. Things are a little off kilter. That's what I take it to mean anyway. I think it's some really bold storytelling, and I don't know what to make of it, which I kind of like so far. It gave me enough to get the gist of the story and what they're going for, but the full mystery of what's happening with Captain Atom and the stuff that happens to Jenny in this book is bonkers. So I think that they're going to very much go into what role she has now that we're in 2024. Yeah, some crazy stuff happens with the main character in this. Okay, she's just teasing me. It does remind me of that, and I was wondering about that too. If you folks don't know, Captain Atom was originally planned to be revealed as the villain of a year, not a year long, just like a big summer event for DC called Armageddon, where there was like a big villain that had come back from the recent future. And it was clearly designed to be Captain Atom, but that leaked. So at the last minute, even though a bunch of issues had already clearly set up that Captain Atom was the only suspect that made sense, they changed it to saying that it was Hawk, as in Hawk and Dove, just a big, strong guy that runs around in a bird suit, that he became the supervillain Monarch in the future. It made no sense. It was a bad move. Sometimes, yeah, things get spoiled and you want to change it to keep the surprise, but it doesn't make sense to change it to something that doesn't make sense. It was maybe I'll make an episode about it someday, because it was, but that you've got the gist now. Armageddon 2000 unfortunately got ruined, and it made no sense. It made no sense. Yeah, they should have stuck to Captain Atom, but it was supposed to be a surprise who the villain was. So at the last minute, they changed it to Hawk. Anyway, I recommend Jenny Sparks. It's interesting. I'm curious where this goes. I think that it's not explicitly set in regular continuity, but I don't know that for an absolute fact. Maybe they are just going ahead and turning Captain Atom into something different. I don't know. I can't believe we're already up to things like issue 8 in the new Ultimate universe. Ultimate still does feel pretty fresh and new to me. Ultimate X-Men is especially sort of, slow walking the premise so that we really get to know the characters. So is Ultimate Spider-Man. I like it. In this one, Spider-Man and his partner in crime fighting, Green Goblin, meet Iron Lad, Tony Stark. And both of them have armor based on Stark technology, even though they're very different. And so, there's just this is some needed exposition talking about stuff that's coming in the near future. There's a big villain called the Maker. It's not worth going into exactly what it is, but the Maker is coming in a few months, and that's going to be a big deal where all the heroes are going to need to be aligned. Spider-Man is still figuring out how to do his Spider-Man stuff. His friend Harry, as Green Goblin, has created an AI for him that's based on the brain patterns of his abusive father, which is probably not a good idea. So there's some stuff that is saying that they're not quite ready to be big heroes yet. They're certainly nowhere near like the power levels and experience and wisdom of the mainstream Marvel universe. But there's also a lot of lovely character work in these books. I love that these are paced to give us some Spider-Man melodrama with his supporting cast, but as compared to being like his dating life, his troubles making money at the Daily Bugle, it's about like him relating to and thinking about changing a job when he's like in his mid 30s and has 2 kids and a wife. You know, his uncle Ben is alive, and Ben and J. Jonah Jameson have started a new newspaper, and they're like giving a hard push to have Peter come from the Daily Bugle and work for them. And that's a big deal when you're an adult and you need to count on an income. You know, it's like, yeah, they might be paying him more, but is their company really going to be around 6 months, 12 months from now? These are serious things that somebody with responsibilities has to think about. It's a different Ultimate Universe. He does have an actual life, and I actually really like his supporting cast in this. I love his relationship with Ben. This J. Jonah Jameson is still a bit of like, you know, a bull-headed guy, but he's not as much of a jerk. You know, he does come to like a birthday party that they have for Peter's kids. He's got a sweet relationship with his wife and his kids that's just different and unique. And the art, by the way, when Mark Cicchetto is drawing, he really does have a great style. There's some energy to it. There's a looseness, but there's also sort of an intricate detail. I like it. I like it quite a bit. I don't know. Oh, the other thing I'll say. So in this, the big enemy so far, behind the scenes mostly, is Kingpin, right? Good villain to start out with for Spider-Man. Not too powerful necessarily, right? But he knows that he's got to go up against 2 guys, Spider-Man and Green Goblin. So he assembles a Sinister Six, a classic group in mainstream Marvel. But in the 60s, when Stan Lee and Steve Ditko created it, it was like they just grabbed 6 of the most recent villains and just were like, the villains were just like, hey, we couldn't beat Spider-Man individually, but maybe we can together. And then instead of ganging up on him, they decided like, we'll go in turns, and whoever beats him is the best of us. And you're like, you guys were really close to having a good idea for how to beat your opponent. You were close. This makes more sense. So he's the Kingpin, right? He's the leader of the criminal underworld. So this Sinister Six is composed of villains that each run a different section of New York. For instance, Mr. Negative runs Queens. The Black Cat runs, I want to say Brooklyn. I forget. They say the street. Craven is one of the villains. Mysterio. And along with Kingpin having Manhattan, I think Craven is Staten Island. So what would that leave? Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens, Manhattan, Brooklyn. Oh, Bronx. One of them's Bronx, one of them's Brooklyn. I forget which is which. Look, for right now, it doesn't matter, okay? But each of them is sort of the criminal guy that's controlling that section. So where's a 6th come from, right? Well, they say that there's also all the underworld, the tunnels underneath and the underground of Manhattan, of which there really is actually quite a bit unexplored down there. There are tons of, in real life, abandoned subway tunnels, things like that actually a lot of homeless people have set up sort of semi-permanent housing in. You can find some interesting YouTube documentaries on stuff like that. Find these spaces that they found where they can maybe get access to some electricity and at least have shelter. Usually don't have like a place for running water or a bathroom, but can otherwise like keep stuff. So anyway, the person that runs the underground in this is Mole Man. Usually sort of in the Marvel universe, he controls all these monsters that are underground. In this, he's a criminal that just controls the underground. So yeah, we've got a Sinister Six that's very different, but I like that they're more they're closer to street level villains. You know, like Craven and Black Cat and Kingpin. Like they're strong. They they're not like super powered, and I like that. So anyway, it's a clever reworking. I like it when when like a comic gets rebooted and they find a clever way to maybe make a little more sense of an idea. Sinister Six is a fun concept. Six enemies versus Spider-Man. It makes a little more sense when they're all actually united by something and that they each have that they control New York. I like it. I think it's a fun idea. We'll see. You feel like they'd have to have over like 85 years of history. Well, it's not 85 years of just Marvel, is it? No, but wait, 60. Doing some math in my head. No, the 85 years of Marvel history includes going back to Timely Comics, which does include like Captain America, Human Torch, Namor, some others. So I don't think that they have, but I can't rule it out. Yeah, that would be interesting. You're right. They haven't really mentioned explicitly what Kingpin's legitimate business cover is. I've been assuming it's land development and construction, but maybe it's something else. I don't know. Art Adams' Fantastic Four story comes to mind. That does make sense. There was sort of a substitute Fantastic Four of Grey Hulk, Ghost Rider, Wolverine, and Spider-Man, and maybe Art Adams did draw them going up against Mole Man. So that's possible. I'd have to double check. That's a good pull. Avenging Spider-Man by Joe Madureira. I don't know that one. Huh. Okay, that went over my head. Anyway, it's got some cool ideas. But this is very much about an adult Spider-Man, and I like that. It's something we haven't had a lot of. We have ideas in the Marvel comics where Peter's growing up, but it kind of keeps getting anything that he goes forward with. Eventually, they sort of roll back. That's what happens with an ongoing serialized comic where the characters don't really age. They progress a little and then something rolls them back. Thank you, JSA. I think I want to talk about this one. Redcoat is something I've been enjoying. I haven't been reading any of the other Ghost Machine books, and a lot of people tell me that they like Rook, they like Giger, they like I don't know what else. Junkyard Joe as a character. All I can say is this is the only one I'm reading, but it's its own thing, and I like it. You've got a guy called Simon Pure who's just a son of a bitch, and he happens to be immortal. But he isn't that smart. He isn't that skilled in anything. And he is teaming up with the also immortal Benedict Arnold and the super young teenage Albert Einstein. So this mixes in characters from actual history, and there's like a secret cult that's hunting down Simon Pure. If they kill him, they can get like his immortality, something along those lines. It's not 100% clear, but they're being chased by these bad guys, and they believe that they're being chased by George Washington, the leader of this evil cult. That's what they've been told. There are some great twists and turns. This book's funny. This book's funny because the character isn't great. He's not that skilled at anything. There's a nuanced take to this Benedict Arnold, and there's some great artwork here. I'm really sorry to do that. I just don't feel good. Yeah, look at how, I don't know. Brian Hitch is really good at drawing anything, but he really does do a lot to to do an establishing shot somewhere on each page. Each page has at least one panel that has some really good detail to just help ground that character in a certain environment, let you know where people are in relation to one another, so that the following panels don't always have to have as much detail. For instance, really good establishing shot here at a big dining room table. But then you can do close-ups of the faces with very minimal background detail. And it, if you really look at it, there's not that much detail to some of these panels in the background. But we don't see it that way because we've seen all of this and our mind is intuiting all the details. It's sort of basic comic book storytelling that you should do that, like at least once a page, have a pretty good establishing shot. I always feel that Brian Hitch does that well. I really do. So that's the one thing I just wanted to point out here. But I don't want to give away the twists and turns to this. It's good. It had a twist last issue that I wasn't expecting, and it has a twist at the end of this issue that I wasn't expecting. Yeah, I like that they're playing with the mythology like that, saying like, oh, what if everything wasn't so pure? Like the way things turned out is fine, but was the motivation of guys like George Washington so pure? It at least makes you question it a little bit, and I think that in turn helps you have another perspective on history if you just don't take it at face value with what we've been told. Wow, thank you so much for the support, Joshua Hayes. We're so lucky to live in an era where we have access to others' comic thoughts and opinions. Quite a lovely time to be a fan, in my opinion. Great job, Chris. Thank you very much. This is just the modern iteration of how we used to have. It would be letters to the comics that you would always read. You just did, and then fanzines and conventions. That was how we learned about comic book stuff and got to share our opinions. It was in letters pages and fanzines and stuff. So it was a little slower, but you think your thoughts out and put them in writing a lot of times, I appreciate it. Yep, the sharks are the ultimate bad guy of this. From here, I can just sort of do quick little thoughts. I will just say that I'm enjoying the Energon universe that they do with whatchamacallit, specifically the G.I. Joe stuff. I really like a lot of this. I don't know the character Chameleon from, probably like some cartoon or toy line that came after my time, but she's really impressive and cool in this. She's been hired to go after Destro. There's some great character work with characters that have always sort of been really small in other iterations of the media, like Mercer and Scrap Iron, but they're important here, and I like it. And I like that Destro is very cunning in this. He's definitely on the back foot against an unknown specific enemy. He's like, I'm not just going up against Tomax and Zaymot. There's some technology here that's beyond what they should have the ability to do. There's also a cool recap of Destro's history, like why he wears the mask. And people that have read G.I. Joe might know that, but if you haven't, like this is straight from every version of the media. It's a really cool bit of history that Destro has, mixing in sort of that man in the iron mask history from France into a Scottish weapons manufacturer. I enjoy it. And this issue was drawn by a different artist. I forget the name of the regular artist, but I think that this was a fill-in. Andrea Milana drew this, and she drew the Cobra Commander series. Yeah, I think Andre Bresson is normally the artist of this. He drew the cover, and he's good. But I really like Andrea Milana, actually. She's got a really sharp, angular style that helps emphasize motion in a really nice way. There's some really good gesture work being done. You like this artist better than the other one? They each have their pluses and minuses, but I do think Andrea's really good. And for all I know, maybe this is a guy, but I'm going by Andrea, assuming that it's a lady. But there's so many Italian artists in American comics right now, and I don't know who they actually are. So yeah, let's see. Are you going to do a video on Richard Gere's Here before its movie adaptation that's coming in November? Surprised you still haven't done a video about it, giving its unique comic storytelling. No, I don't have any plans to do that because I don't know that one. So, yeah. It is a guy. I just started to suspect that. Even though I was reading it, I go, there's probably another Italian artist that I don't know. It's good. It's really good. Nightclub came back, and I have sort of, as I've gotten older, like Mark Miller sometimes is like too edgy for me. Like the stuff he does with Nemesis or Kick-Ass is, and this is edgy, but I also think it's kind of fun. The overall premise is that some teenagers got turned into vampires. That doesn't instantly turn them evil, so they've decided to use their powers and become superheroes. They wear, luchador masks and full body clothing, and they use their strength and their abilities to fight crime. But in the first volume, 3 of them did get turned into vampires, and the third one is what's his name? All of a sudden I'm forgetting. Hold on. Sam got his feelings hurt because the other 2 characters, they've all been friends. He had a crush on the girl, and instead the other 2 started dating. So he's just sort of doing his own thing, hanging out with lots of criminals and being awesome at basketball and stuff like that. And he's probably going to become a supervillain if I had to guess from Mark Miller's path. But hey, at least so far, this doesn't have Nazis or the R word. So that's a plus. I kind of enjoy it. Nightclub is the only new series from Miller that I'm interested in, and I am having a lot of fun with this new volume. Shame it's not $1.99 an issue anymore. No, I guess that must not have worked then, because what he did is, and I applaud Mark for doing that. I think it was a really good idea. But the first volume of Nightclub issues were $1.99, with obviously the goal to increase circulation, have more people try it. But yeah, now it's back to normal price, $4.99. Chris, it was originally, you're talking about Here. It was originally a 6-page story in Raw, and in 2014, McGear released a full graphic novel. It's set in one place while jumping through many years in time. Oh, Here. Got it. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Huh. No, I haven't read those. No. $4.99 is more than normal price. Let's see, Wonder Woman, $4.99. Dick Tracy, $4.99. World's Finest, $3.99. G.I. Joe, $3.99. Yeah. Yeah, some of these are $3.99, and you're right, some are $4.99. Ultimate Spider-Man, $4.99. Redcoat, $3.99. Guess they're trying to figure it out. Maybe it depends on like exactly how much they anticipate selling, because there's probably economies of scale. I don't know. Why don't I do my I have issues anymore? I think that was like a title that I liked the idea of using, and then I just didn't like really have anything to complain about. Like, I didn't want to focus on too many like things that I was just like, I don't like this, so I have issues with it. So I think it just sort of faded away. I don't know. Yeah. When's the Absolute Batman coming out? I mean, just to be clear, Absolute Batman just came out. And so yeah, this is Absolute Batman. There's his head, he's waving, these are his feet, and then this is his S logo. So that's my version. It just came out. I think Absolute comes out in late October. Well, thank you. I like sometimes looking at a comic that's not great or that I didn't think worked for a reason, because I do think you can find something educational in analyzing it. I guess I just I just had that idea for calling it I Have Issues. It would have been a better title for the overall show or something, you know, that like instead of Comic Tropes, if I called this I Have Issues, that would have been a good title. Oh well. Or just Pros and Cons, like I named this channel. That Pros and Cons is a good title too. Comic Tropes was more, I wasn't thinking long term when I started my show, you know. I was just looking to keep busy and do something that seemed fun. And so I made an episode, and then I was like, I don't know what to call it. Well, I talked about Chris Claremont's tropes, so I'll call it Comic Tropes. Yeah. Absolute Batman loves his vodka. Yes. And then I'll wrap it up in a second, but I was going to try to draw potentially a thumbnail for something coming out next month. I don't know if you noticed, but next month there's a certain day called Friday the 13th. So there might be something coming up on this channel for that. And by might, I mean definitely. But what would it be? What would Jim and I do for Friday the 13th? That's right. We're going to talk about 13 different Police Academy movies. What are you guys reading comics-wise that I'm not? And thanks for the recommendation about Here. I'll look up that one because that's new to me. You remember when comics were less than 50 cents? The first ones I got were still like 65 cents, and I wasn't reading regularly then. I was just a really little kid. I think I did see that one. That was a like sort of a parody, right? It wasn't really a horror movie. Oh, that's fun. 80s X-Men is good. Yes, the 13th Police Academy is when they finally hit their groove. It did take a while. Blood Squad 7, yes. Really enjoy that one. Have I thought about doing a retrospective in Marvel Now, all new, all different era? Not really. Nothing's like off the table. I just have to have an angle for it. No, I didn't actually see that one on the shelf at any of my local comic shops. I didn't see Power Fantasy. Sorry. Could be fun. Yeah. August 1961 Marvel Omnibus. Amy Burrell's We Serve the People, My Mother's Stories, a biographical comic illustrating their mother's experiences in the Cultural Revolution. Why Don't You Love Me by Paul B. Rainey. 15th Doctor comic. Is that written by Dan Slott, I want to say? I haven't seen those, but I think probably not going to do an X month this year, although that would be fun. No, I've got a bunch of ideas. I don't know when I'm going to get to all of it. Eric Shanower and Scotty Young's Oz comics. I've heard good things about that. I'm hungry. I just realized that I actually haven't eaten anything yet today. Oh, I'm just so busy. I'm always working. It's frustrating how much I'm working. I like my work. I like making episodes. I like talking to you guys. I like my day job. I'm always working. It's why I can't get ahead and sort of do like something more personal, like create a comic of my own or something like that. Maybe someday. Just can't seem to get ahead. But I'm sure that I'm only saying that because I'm sure all of you can relate. When do we get time to do what we really want to do? A factory meal. If they ever wanted to sponsor me again, I would love that. I thought that those factory meals were good. I'm not feeling that well. I'm pretty congested. I've been feeling pretty bad the last few days, but I've just sort of I feel like I've needed to get a lot done work wise, so I haven't taken any downtime yet to recover. No, I don't know the latest drama about Megalopolis. I want it to be something interesting. I respect the work of Francis Ford Coppola, so I want it to be good. Is there some drama that maybe not so good or something, or hopefully it's not about the people themselves that made it. Oh, but yeah, I was planning on doing some drawing with all of you, but how I may have just about reached my limit for the day. I think I'll probably wrap this up in a sec. If there's any questions, I'm happy to take those. We always sort of wrap the show up. It's sort of the cool down by doing an AMA almost. I enjoy that. I enjoy talking to you guys and gals and all. I enjoy talking to everybody a lot. Just really all of a sudden feeling wiped. Let me see what was asked. The distributor asked AI to fake a bunch of blurbs from critics? Really? That's terrible. What a stupid idea. I know. I will get something to eat in a sec. I think I'm just about done here because I'm not even quite sure that this is the layout that I'd want to have for a thumbnail. That's what I was thinking of doing, but now that I'm doing it, I feel like I could come up with a better premise than this. What else is being asked? Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's this. I'm cranking out a stinker this week. What can I say? You want to see the Rogue Gambit colored? I don't think I'm great at colors is the only thing. That could be fun. I think a good colorist could do some really fun stuff with like the reflection of the glow of Gambit's cards and stuff. But I just am not great at choosing the palette. What home cooked meals are your specialties? I feel like I don't have tons of specialties. My wife is definitely the better cook, although I don't want to like obligate her to, cook. So what can I make? I think I make a good jambalaya. I'd like to make one of those this week actually for the family, and I think I'm pretty good on the grill. Meats, but also veggies and stuff. I think I'm really good at grilling. Yeah. I don't know. That's about it. Peking duck. No, haven't ever tried one of those. I've eaten one. I haven't tried to make one. I'm going to watch Venture Brothers. I am just like 21. I am going to watch Venture Brothers. I am just like 21. Right. 21 was one of the characters. I got for my birthday the Venture Brothers movie that wraps the whole thing up, and I keep putting off one, like watching it. It's been forever since it came out, and since the previous season of Venture Brothers came out, but it's like I don't want it to end, so I keep sort of waiting. Hola. But yeah, I guess this will do it. So Friday there will be a trash movie bonanza on this channel. I think we made a good one, Jim and I. What else? Oh, I don't know if you saw it, but I did do an impromptu review of the movie The Crow, the 2024 version. I did that on this channel. It got some good views. The review itself really doesn't have any spoilers, or if I talk about any of it, I'm sure I'd mention it. I don't think I got into anything spoilery. Did I have my mic all the way to the side this whole time? Oh my God, I must have sounded so different. I'm so sorry, everybody. I totally missed that my mic was so far away until just now. It's a bad movie, in my opinion. And I don't say that to take pleasure or go like, this is the worst thing ever. But I do say it to say, I really don't think it's worth your money or your time. I am so sorry that I did that. We could do that sometime. Yeah. Hey, it's Bronze Age Nerd. Christopher does a show on his channel, Bronze Age Nerd, and with his co-host Big B McFly. I can't get it out because I'm getting really congested. Wow. I can't. Okay. It sounds the same. You just had turned it up. Yeah. So I was just coming out quiet. Jeez, I'm sorry. So anyway, starting in like 40 minutes, Bronze Age Nerd will also have a comic book news and discussion show, although he structures it a little bit more differently with like more broad topics that can engage the audience. So if you guys want a little bit more, I actually really like hanging out on that show as just an audience member. And there's a little bit more discussion of things that I'm not always an expert on, like the collecting and grading community. So I definitely recommend it. It's a really fun show. So yeah, I guess I'll mention this. It's sad, and I don't know this person as well, but Elena Salcido was a Top Cow executive. I believe she was the vice president. And sadly, she passed away. I did read Mark Silvestri had a really beautiful post about her and how she was more than just, one of their coworkers. She was part of their family. So that is sad. She did pass away. I'm not an expert on Top Cow per se. So that's why I didn't really get into it, but it is sad. Sure, man. Yeah, I'm always happy to be a guest on other comic book shows. So yeah, we could definitely do that. That would be fun. So I will wrap it up there. Oh, I didn't hear about that. Sid Vicious, also known as Psycho Sid, he passed away. I wasn't really watching pro wrestling when he was one of the big guys, but he had a good look. He definitely had a good, unique look. Oh, that's too bad. All right. This is a good time to wrap up, though. I'm going to get something to eat. And if you really need a tiny bit more of me, there's a very good chance that I will be in the audience of the Bronze Age Nerd show that starts in about 40 minutes. Yeah, always appreciate it if folks hit thumbs up. Thank you for being here with me. Some great comics that came out this week. I hope you got a chance to pick up some ones that you enjoyed, and we will be back next week to talk about more comic book news and reviews. And if I'm lucky and I feel a little healthier, I think I can wrap up a new comic tropes, which I know is going to be a good one. Oh yes, happy National Dog Day, and I'm really sorry again for your loss, Jeannie. Twiggy was a great pup. All right, here you go, guys. Double salute. How's that? Best way to end the stream ever. Take care. Keep reading comics.